One of the new targets of President Trump's crackdown on sanctuary cities, New Orleans. The Department of Justice issuing a staunch warning to New Orleans and 8 cities around the country. If they don't comply with federal immigration laws, they could lose millions in federal funding.
Well, now, New Orleans Mayor General Landry is fighting back, saying the NOPD will not be a part of President Trump's deportation force, no matter how many times he asks. Here's CNN's Nick Valencia.
Outside of the New Orleans immigration office, Jose Lara sits with his 2-year-old son. If he looks worried, it's because he is. Today is the day he finds out if he'll be deported back to Honduras. He hasn't committed any crimes, but he is here illegally under President Trump's new immigration order. It's undocumented families like his now at risk of being deported.
If President Trump was right here, what would you tell him?
I would ask him what he would do if he were in our situation. We can't take the crime in our countries. What would he do if they wanted to deport him and separate him from his family?
You know what? You broke the law, and there's a penalty for breaking that law.
Louisiana State Attorney General General Landry agrees with President Trump. He thinks cities like New Orleans should stop protecting people like Jose and his family and start complying with federal immigration law.
I think when you talk to people who come into this country the right way and utilizing the rule of law and the process, that is basically a slap in their face.
Landry has been the state's loudest critic of so-called sanctuary cities. Places like New Orleans, he says, one of over 200 jurisdictions that refuse to honor federal detention and deportation requests.
Unfortunately, sanctuary city policies undermine our justice system.
Last year, Landry testified in front of Congress about a fatal bus crash outside of New Orleans that killed a fireman. The driver, undocumented. He says the New Orleans mayor hasn't been tough enough on people in his city illegally.
We're not going to become the federal government's deportation force.
Mayor Landry says his city has honored the federal consent decree put in place in 2012, which does not require an officer to ask someone's immigration status during an arrest. He says because of that, he's not scared of losing millions in federal funds, which the president has threatened to do to sanctuary cities. If the president really wants to secure American streets, Landry says,
make sure that ICE and the police are at one with the community, not at odds, and then you will see a much safer America in a very short period of time.
President Trump is sitting right here. He says, Mayor Landry, I don't care what you say. You're a sanctuary city. I'm going to cut federal funding.
Well, that's why we have courts. And I'm going to say, Mr. President, I thank you and I appreciate you and I respect you, but I respectfully disagree with you, and I'll see you in court.
Hours after his ICE check-in, Jose Lara was allowed to stay in the U.S. for now. They told him to return 3 months, so his future is still uncertain. And to those who believe he and his family should be sent back to Honduras, they both work in manual labor and say they've literally helped rebuild this country. His wife argues she already is home.
This is my country. This is my country. I came here and I helped rebuild it.
Jose and his family are still very worried about being deported. ICE agents are given an incredible amount of discretion with immigration cases. So just because he was let go this time doesn't mean he'll be let go next time. Nick Valencia, CNN, New Orleans.